Bing, bang, boom. Damon Hart in the mix. Take it away, boys.
Man, so excited to have Damon Hart with us today, foxyhomebuyer.com. Love me some Damon. Love me some Uncle D. I call him Uncle D because he's been in the game. He's been in the game.
Respect.
He's in the game. Always like talking to Uncle D whenever I can. He gave us about 20 minutes of his time. Uncle D, what's up, man? How are you today?
Man, I'm great, man. I'm actually cruising right now to the beach. It just worked out schedule-wise. So my wife and a couple of my son's friends are there hanging out for his birthday. So guess like every other dad, I got to bring the snacks and whatever else my wife forgot. So that's where I'm headed.
And you got to bring the Capri Suns and the orange slices, huh?
I think he's old. He's too old for that now, but I remember those days. That's where you're at now, probably. Yeah.
That's right, man. That's right. So a little bit about Damon, though. His son is an aspiring professional surfer. The kid's a killer. So hey, where can we get some YouTube videos on your son?
Yeah, you can he's on YouTube at Kisan, Kisan, like Nancy, and then Hart. And he's on YouTube, and you can find him on Facebook, the same place. Also, Instagram, I think his Insta is Kisan the best. So _THE_BEST. And that's just, I don't know, that's just a personal thing. He just talk about mindset. He just thinks he's the best and he's striving for it. So I can't be mad at the guy,
No way. We were actually talking about this the other day. I had Joe Dillon. You familiar with Joe Dillon?
I do know Joe, sure.
So we had Joe on the podcast last week, and we were talking about. I talked a little bit about flow state, and I had listened to a couple podcasts about flow state, and there was this one dude. He had just a crippling syndrome. I forget exactly what it was. It was a podcast I listened to a while back, but he picked up surfing, and he found once that surfing he was able to hit his flow state that some of the ailments in his body completely went away. There was like supernatural healing that he had just coming from a flow state of just of all the just positivity. I think it was actually Crohn's. It was some sort of debilitating disease where once he would get off the surfboard, I mean, his body would just break down. But he's now like the dude's like 50, 55 years old, and he found a lot of healing from surfing.
Yeah, man. I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense. Like you, I know you grew up playing basketball, and I did too. And I never, man, we didn't grow up anywhere near the ocean, so I didn't know anything about all that stuff. But it wasn't until we kind of got like I took him to a surf lesson when he was probably about 6 years old, and just it wasn't until he loved it, he fell in love right away. But it wasn't until I actually went out and did it myself. Once you catch that first wave, man, it's like there's nothing else like it. And then after that, you're hooked. Like it's one of those things. It's like it's a great drug without all the negative side effects. You get all the positives. So
for sure, it's insane, man. I was I'm water skiing up in Michigan. We water ski. We don't have there's no oceans around here. But it's hitting the wake, right? Going over the wake and juking a jog.
Yeah.
Where I get it, man. It's cool. I'm actually for the first time ever, I'm slaloming. I'm dropping a ski and actually doing one ski approach. So it's felt good to get a little bit better. But hey, so follow him. His son's amazing. Follow Uncle D too, foxyhomebuyer.com. Uncle D's been in the real estate game for a while. I've learned from him. We got connected at a conference we were at, and we hit it off. And now I'm just building a relationship with the uncle, no, Damon's been a huge influence. Got a super positive mindset. And that's what I love about Damon. He's always smiling, always got a good attitude about him. Damon, tell us, how is it that you keep a good attitude all the time? Is that
man? If we get nothing out of this podcast, I mean nothing else, this was the most. I think this is probably the most awesome thing I could share with people. A mindset is everything, man. And I'll tell you, I didn't start out like people like, oh, you're just naturally born positive. Like I don't believe that at all. I think anything could be learned, and for me, it took a couple of things. First thing, you got to understand, like, what is it that you really want, right, in life. A lot of people kind of mess around and they look at what everybody else has and they decide that that's what they want. Maybe it's a Lamborghini, maybe it's, I don't know, big house or to travel, whatever that is for you. Just make sure it in your heart, and you'll know that's the thing that really drives you and motivates you. And once you find that, then the rest of it, the practical side, is you have to tell yourself every day who it is that you are, right? Like, you can't wait for anybody else to make up their mind about you and then say, okay, now I'm going to be that. No, too late. That's like the worst thing you could do. You feel me? So I mean, for me, every day I pretty much go through like a series of statements, and I share this with my team. We all, more or less do the same thing. Is you got to tell yourself who you are. You got to tell yourself, like, who you are, what it is that you're doing. Like, for me, I'm a leader. I'm a person that's creating, value for the people I'm around. We attract a ton of opportunity, a ton of money in everything that we do. I'm a great dad. All these things I tell myself nonstop every day. And I found the people that I hang around with that have always been at high levels, they do the exact same thing. Maybe not the way I do it, but they do the exact same thing in principle. If you wait for other people to tell you who you are, too late. So
let me ask you this, because as I look at you, and I was watching your Facebook ad the other day, and I see Uncle D smiling. Dude, you smile so much. I feel like that emits a lot of energy, right?
Right on.
I'm a big believer in a smile and what it can do to somebody else, right?
For sure.
Does that come naturally, smiling?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's a loaded question, right? But if you say natural, I look at kids, right? Most kids, they're naturally, just from the beginning, the best thing that they're going to do is smile. They're going to be engaging. They're going to be happy. So in that sense, yeah, I think it's natural. But as you get older, as you learn, depending on what environment you grow up in, right, that smile that you have might diminish, right? The more stuff that you get exposed to, that's not positive. That's not, so I had a mom and dad, they were great. They smiled a lot. They didn't smile all the time, but they definitely were happy people. And I guess, man, I got a lot to be happy about. And that's the other thing. It's like mindset, man. Like, you could take my life and give it to somebody else, and they might totally not be happy with it.
Right,
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But vice versa. Like, you give me their life, and I could probably, depending on the circumstances, I'm not saying they're perfect, but I could take somebody else's life and look at it a totally different way.
Yeah.
And it's all up here, man. This is the game. If you want to master the real estate game, you got to master this. It's not all about, and this, it's not all about, what do you call those? It's not all about the transaction. A lot of time, a lot of it is up here before you even get going.
Yeah.
Personally, that's how I see it.
No, that's how I see it too, man. It's just that it's so important to keep that mindset, because what I say to it is, like, comparison is the thief of joy, right? When you compare, and there was a pastor that I mentioned actually in Joe's podcast. He's an influencer on Instagram, and he just said, you create your own definition of success, right? You create your own reality. Like, you create those things. So to let somebody else define that for you, that's when the hardships, that's when, those things are going to come into play where you don't feel fulfilled. It's when you define your definition of success. What does that look like for you? And for you, it's obviously, being the best dad, being the best husband that you possibly can be, setting that purpose and that why, and then letting those secondary things come second, right? Real estate, having a successful company. Check out foxyhomebuyer.com if you're selling your house. So those different things of creating that mindset of what your definition of success, and not letting somebody else determine what success looks like to you. So important. That's cool.
For sure.
So Uncle D, tell us how you started out, man. How did you get in the real estate game?
Oh, it's funny. I haven't told this story in a while, man, but It started out for me. I was in the mortgage business probably right out of college. I had an accounting background. I wanted to be an accountant, believe it or not, right? Imagine that shit. I want to be an accountant. And then at some point, I discovered like, I really wasn't so much into accounting. It was more business. So I always wanted to be a successful businessman my whole life, right? So I got out of college and I started working for a mortgage company. And I would just do some of these transactions for real estate people. Back then we could just do 100% financing for everything. And I started to see these guys at closing because I was the mortgage guy. I would see their HUDs, right? I would see how they would close them. They were making like friggin', triple and sometimes, 10 times what I was making just in my little revenue. And I was like, wow, these guys are doing all right. I'd really like to learn that. This was pre-YouTube for sure. So maybe it was like, put it this way, like if you want to buy a book, you would still go to barnesandnoble.com. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, so I was like, back then it was just, there was no YouTube. So the only way you could find the information was know somebody that does it, or you'd have to go and go to a seminar. So that's what I did. That's how I got started. I paid like 25 grand at a seminar. I went to like this training, and we went to a couple different markets. I think Las Vegas, Texas, Florida here. At the time I lived in New Jersey. We just looked at all these different markets, and I just started taking action because I wanted to do it. And then I ended up quitting my job. And I think this is important for people to hear too. Like people think like real estate investing is like once you put your credit card down, like it's a guarantee. Man, I put my credit card down and I maxed out my credit card. Then I quit my job, thinking that it was all good. And then you know what else happened? I quit my job. Guess what? I lost my house, right? Yeah. It's like, it's like, I get it, like in retrospect, but I'm just like, come on, that was the dumbest thing possible. Like just because you get on the boat or get on the train don't mean you're going to end up at the right stop. Like you got to pay attention. So that's how I got started. And, I flopped around. I did my first deal and I made 10 grand. And I was like, wow, this thing really works. So I went out and tried to do a bunch of other deals. Never really panned out. So I got out of the business. Then I came back in right after the crash 2008, probably like 3 years in. And I'm like, well, I might be able to do this again because I understand it. And I was like, there's opportunity now since everything leveled out. And then my wife had an opportunity to move here to Florida for work because she was working at the time. And I said, she's like, well, what do you think about Florida? And I said, I don't know. I don't know anybody in Florida except my one buddy who lived in St. Pete. And then we came down and looked around and said, all right. And then I didn't have any, I'd sold my business up there. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And started Foxy Home Buyer, and the rest was history.
The rest is history. We got Foxy. You are Foxy, dude. You're Foxy, man.
Oh, yeah. That was, I guess that was, again, from above, man. I mean, that's not my conceit. It just worked out that way. And people remember the name. They do.
They do. Sure. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. But, no, it's funny, man. I come from a finance accounting background as well. So I was an accountant actually before getting out of college. Was working in Detroit for a while before I moved to Washington, D.C. and then bounced down to Florida. So that's I didn't realize you were in accounting. That's new information to me as well.
Well, that's the same for you, but I could see you being an accountant. You're a pretty numbery guy. I'm like the total opposite. Whatever brain that is, it's like I'm more in the abstract. The accounting brain just made me feel happy when it came to numbers. Like just show me what the end result is. That was fun for me. Yeah. When they started talking that other stuff, audits and whatever, I was like, all right, this is not my calling. Put it that way.
That way, it wasn't mine. I found that early on too, man. Yeah. I was struggling with the debits and the credits, which I don't know how that's even possible. I've got a finance major, and then this hat looks crooked. Like every time I look at it, I don't know why. I don't know if it's my head or it's weird. So anyways, I was struggling with debits and credits. So weird. I got out. All I knew was I knew P&Ls and cash flow statements. I know all the statements, but from a standpoint. So when I got out, I was a finance major, got into an accounting role. I was doing accounts payables. And I'm like, dude, this is completely opposite from my bank accounts. I was like, how you do debits and credits. I was like,
it's reverse.
So literally, I was like, I took like accounting 1 and 2, and then I'm like, I understand them now. Obviously, when it was in accounting for like 2 years, and then worked for Accenture for a while. They were doing project management. That was at a much deeper level, but enjoyed that thoroughly. But then came down here and started becoming an entrepreneur. So tell me though, because I was sitting so I was sitting poolside the other day, and I was working.
Mhm.
We have 2 or 3 closings this month, so I was working on a few closings or whatever. But I got to watch my babies in the pool, and they were just dancing around the pool, having a good time. And then I jumped in. But I even took an Instagram snap of it because I was like, that's why I became an entrepreneur, right? I'm looking at the babies, and I have the mobility of time, right? Of
For sure.
being able to see that. Being able to experience life at a much deeper level. Now, I still work my ass off. Like I still have to work very, very hard, and that's what you were saying. But you have the benefit of time on your hands, and that's why I just love from the perspective just that becoming an entrepreneur that it gives you allows you to utilize time in its truest capacity. What are your thoughts on that? Tell us a little bit more about like kind of deeper dive into the mindset. And I know that you're heavily involved in your wife and your son's life, and how that's benefited your family.
So I answer that one in a 2-part because for me growing up, I saw both my parents work for the post office. My dad still actually works for the post office now, and my mom retired about 2 years ago. And the thing I remember the most from my childhood is just like I was the oldest son, so my mom was always working, my dad was always working, and when they had my 2 younger sisters, my oldest of the 2 sisters is like 13 years younger than I am. So I was like a teenager when they were born. So I was always watching them, taking care of them. And what I remember the most, man, is just like anything I wanted to do, and it's not a knock on my parents because they were excellent, but just weren't around. They were always at work. And for me, I just said to myself throughout all that, I'm like, yeah, I could go and I could work and I could hustle, but there's not going to be anything that I ever do. Like I'm going to do my absolute best to be there for most of the moments. That was what was important for me, and I think that's true for a lot of people, except you got to understand like the structure of being employed is not really built for that. And that's why the entrepreneurial job, like that endeavor looks so promising to people because they're like, oh man, look at that guy. He has so much free time. Yeah, you're right. He does. And the main reason why that person has more time on there or more availability of time, I wouldn't say that in the beginning because you know this and I know this. When you're first starting out, you're the lone wolf. You're the only guy. So, you're gonna do a lot of that shit yourself in the beginning until, you can get some people around you that can carry the torch and carry your vision forward. And then that's when it gets really exciting. Like in the beginning, it's a job. Like you're grinding it out. So if you got a job now and you're thinking, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, so I can get rid of my job. Guess what? You're gonna have a job, same job that's probably gonna pay you a little bit less than what you were making initially, and you're gonna be living with your boss 24 hours a day because your boss is you, right? And when you're pissed about stuff not going down right or shit's not happening, guess what? You got to turn around. Instead of saying your boss is an a-hole, you're going to have to look yourself right in the face and say, oh, yeah, it's you. So what do I have to do? And I think that's why entrepreneurship is great. But again, I believe that it has to boil back to your mindset because a lot of people, their whole lives, man, our whole lives, we're taught to like, yo, follow this route, do this. And then one day you'll get a great job and you work till you're 65 and then retire. I don't know if you've seen it. You looked around lately. That shit is so out of reality that it's so antiquated, that way of saying it. Like, the only guy that I know is really big time now is like Tai Lopez. Like we've, met with Tai and I've seen him and talked to him a bunch. And that dude was saying it for like the last 4 or 5 years. It's like, yo, that style is just gone, man. Like that's not the future. If you want to make it and you don't want to be in the left class, like that class that's left behind, you got to have some kind of other income stream, man. You have to.
Yeah. No,
So
completely.
that's my take on it. You know,
But the one thing that you said, I mean, the one thing we are preconditioned to think, right? As really Americans, I think is we need the job, right? We're preconditioned to level of risk. And I think when risk comes into play, it's like that fear factor mode of what you're
for
saying.
sure.
You drop in, when you're dropping your credit card down and you're like, hey, I gotta max out this credit card in order to make 30,000 this month or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
Last month I did, right? I maxed out 7, but I made 40. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you got to max it out. You gotta leverage. And I was talking, so this I came up here, and that another beauty about running your own company, right? When you go on vacation, you can make it. This is legal. Make it a business trip.
For
I had
sure.
meetings, right? So I'm setting up business meetings. I'm talking to Damon right now, but I talked with one of the biggest wholesalers in southeastern Michigan. And as I was sitting down talking to Ron, right? He's like looking at me and he's like, dude, I know you haven't been in like the game really long time. He's been in the game for 35 years. Or no,
Right.
no, 35 years. He started when he was 35. I think he's about 55. So about 20 years he's been in the game.
Okay.
And now he's a machine. Waymarkhomes.com is his company up here, and he's exclusively in southeastern Michigan. He has not tapped into any other market, so he kind of knows his route. But he was saying, he's like, dude, I've talked to your dad, and I love my dad to death, like absolutely love him. But and he's been there for me. I spent a lot of time with my dad because I was a badass little kid, and my mom's like, you're not staying home with me. You're going out. We were 1 of 4, and my brothers and sisters were always a good kid, but I was a hyperactive kid. She's like, you're going with your dad. So I'd go with him to basketball practice. And so I remember spending a lot of time with my dad. I didn't spend a lot of time with my mom. And but it was vice versa for my other siblings. But they worked, right? So they were school teachers growing up. So I got to spend a little bit more time with my dad. But my dad is he taught, this is the crazy, this is the wildest thing. He taught entrepreneurship at school, right? He taught entrepreneurship in school, and he is not an entrepreneur at all. So this guy, my dad, he's amazing, but like he looks at me and he's like, dude, I could not do what you're doing. There's so much risk. There's so much
Right.
there's fear factor. He's a W-2 guy. He has a full pension on the backside. So my dad's retired now, and he has a pension that's paying him out. So my dad's done well, but he's like, there's so much risk in everything you're doing. That he's like, he's like, I don't get what you do. Like, there's not a consistent paycheck coming in.
Right.
You have to
Right.
work for every dollar you get, and if
Right.
you don't work, and I'm like, yeah, but that's what gives me time. I didn't have to. I'm not missing out on any days with my kids. I get to wake up, take them to school, preschool in the morning. I get to do these things. I go up there, take them out, take them to the zoo and McDonald's. And that's what I do. Looking at as they're swimming yesterday, I'm like, that's what you missed out on, and I'm not missing out on, right? I get to experience so much more. And not good, bad, or indifferent. I know he's working hard. I'm working hard. We're just working hard in different ways. But his risk tolerance is so he's not there. He's like, no way could I go and put 10 grand on a credit card to try to earn that much more. You know what I mean? Because there's a risk in that. There's a risk. There's a heavy risk and associated to like, building out marketing campaigns, whatever you're going to do. So it's all, it's the mindset, it's the level of risk. But I really truly believe I've had this like where the Americans are conditioned to think that we need to go work for somebody after college. I need to go to college. And now tell me what you think on this. I'm like, there's no way that I'm promoting college to my daughters, knowing that what I'm like now, where why should secondary education, right? You should go spend 50, maybe 60, maybe even more $1,000 in education to do what? You know what I mean?
Right.
For me, it was, I got a finance degree. Don't get me wrong. It helped me, but why can't I start educating them even beforehand how to think like an entrepreneur, be an entrepreneur at a very young age to say, hey, if you want to be a doctor, by all means, go be a doctor, right? But you still have to know have a business mindset to be a doctor. Like there's certain things that you need to know that whether or not you have a W-2 job, it's good to have that entrepreneur mindset going into it. So I tell everyone, I was like, I have a 4-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and an 8-month-old. They're by no means am I encouraging them to go to college. I'm not encouraging them to go to college. If they want to go to college, very specific degree, get they're chemical engineering, they love chemical engineering, or they want to be a doctor, or they want to be like by all means. But you aren't going to be there a history major, and don't let my wife hear that. She was a history major, and then she got her law degree. But
and then she's an attorney, yeah. Secret anyway. Safe. Don't watch a podcast, baby. Don't watch a podcast. Right?
What are your thoughts on secondary education,
dude? I mean, dude, you said it. I mean, it's exactly that. It's just like I understand. I get it. Like both my parents worked at the post office, so they just wanted me to have a steady job. We're gonna do the best that we all can,
right?
To help our kids the best way we know how. So I'm not expecting somebody that that works. They work in a hard 9-to-5 job, and you expect them to say, "Oh yeah, go ahead and be the next I don't know, real estate developer." I don't expect that. Yeah. All I'm at here's my point with all that you see going on right now. You see the trend, right? Mm-hmm. There used to be Joe's what do you call it? Little hardware store on the corner. Such and such had a drugstore. All these things are corporatized, bro. Yeah. Every last one of them. Absolutely. And that money. Now, when we were kids, you go to Mr. Joe and you would say, "Hey, Mr. Joe, we need some support for this. Can you give us some money for kids? What do you call it? The games or uniforms or whatever." Now, you can't do that. So what's all that money doing? Coming back on the parents. So now you got parents spending more on not only extracurricular activities, you got them spending more for daycare because they got to work 2 jobs. You got to spend more money for their education. I don't know how this whole thing is going to work out with coronavirus, but I'm pretty sure there's gonna be something that comes up that a parent's gonna have to supplement even further their child's education for them to quote unquote stay up. So all that stuff is being put back on the person, and the salaries aren't going up. They're not, unless you're in tech or something that's super in high demand. They're not going up at the rate that you would think. Mm-hmm. So my point is, if you're asking me my position, that's what my kid. He showed an interest in being a pro surfer. I'm doing everything I can to support him in that endeavor. My wife, she doesn't work. I mean, she doesn't have a full-time job anymore. She quit that job maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and she's pursuing her own thing because, she wants to be an example. Like, she doesn't have to work, but she wants to be able to say, look, I built this because this is something I feel that's an opportunity. It's passion. I have some passion for, and what does it hurt? Like, having extra income is not a bad thing because we all could use it, right? So that's my position on it, man. And I totally agree where you're coming from. And that's what your job is as a parent. That's all you're trying to do. Make it better for your kid than it was for you if you can help it, and have them lessen those shortcuts or those roadblocks, if you will. That's it. So I'm doing the same.
I love that, man. And last question for you, because you mentioned passion. I find it very hard to wake up in the morning if I'm not going to have passion about something, right?
For sure.
And I love that, like, your wife quit her job 4 or 5 years ago to hey, there's something more passionate than just doing the 9-to-5 grind. What how do you explain your passion? How did you identify a passion in real estate and entrepreneurism? That's pretty vague, I know, but
no, but I get it.
Yeah,
and that's man. I think this is the best question I've ever had, because it took me a long time to kind of pin it down. Mm-hmm. And the best thing I could tell you about passion is sometimes I think people look for that one thing, and it's kind of like they want it to almost be like this massive aha moment. At least that's what I wanted. I wanted to be like, tell me my passion so I could just pursue it. Mm-hmm. And what I found out is just like, you know what my passion is, man? Like, really, at its rudimentary form, all I wanted to do is I want to help people and I want to do it in a way that I feel like it really makes a difference. And that passion moves from thing to thing. Like, I want to help people and make them feel like it's making a difference with my family. I want to help people and make it feel like I'm making a difference. So I do that in real estate. You know what I mean? I want to do it. So I repeat that statement pretty much in everything that I do. And the projects that I take on, if I don't have opportunities to do those things, you know, you'll never see me friggin' investing or working on anything that has to do with, like, you know, military defense or killing people. It's just not. It's not in me. You know what I'm saying? And I think when people find that it's not so much about the money, it's about what lights you up or what keeps you warm.
So good.
Then go get it. After a while, you find that some things are just not meant for you, dude. Like, you know, I love Narcos, but I'm not going to be a drug trafficker. I love watching the shit. I'm just not gonna do it. You know, because at some point I gotta kill somebody, you know, and then that's not something I want to do. I gotta go shoot up a family. Like, it doesn't match with the whole helping people thing. You know what I'm saying? So
not match with that.
For me now, but for Pablo, you know, it's different. You know, he had a different, and I get it, but like, it's just, you gotta go and I think we make that mistake so often. It's like, but the money, bro, but the money. The money, great, but at what, you know, the money only will grow to the extent that your happiness grows. Like, the person that is like, you take the wealthiest people, they made their money doing something that most people really aren't that good at, and they do it at an extremely high level over an extended period of time. And you know, and it's something, obviously, if you have a really strong skill set or something like that, and you do it that long, you gotta like it. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't do it that long. But yet you want us to go and study. I mean, if I found, I don't know, I'm going to go in a little bit about the accounting profession, but if I found,
well, Damon, thank you so much for coming on, bro. Hey, I always appreciate your transparency, your authenticity. I have been getting to know you, man, over the past really year. And
here, man.
Bro, tell us where we can follow you. We obviously have foxyhomebuyer.com. Facebook or Instagram. Give us your handles, man.
Sure. On IG, it's easy, man. Damon Hart. Just look up Damon Hart. You'll see a little aura. I got Damon Hart. I guess the other Damon Harts were chilling. It might be like Damon Hart, Florida, but I think it's Damon Hart. I don't check it that often, but I'm like on Instagram, like a light poster. I don't really go heavy on Instagram. You might find me more on Facebook, but on Facebook, I'm Damon Hart FL. So yeah, just look me up, man, and you know what you can expect. All I'm looking for is positive vibes, man. Look around. We got enough of this this divisiveness and pulling people down and fighting. Like, look, it's right back to my purpose. I'm here to help people. And I'm here to help you get to something that you want. That's why God put me here. That's why the universe put me here, whatever you believe in. And if I can, when I do that, I'm always happy. So you come around me, you're just going to get that vibe, man. I'm here to help you. I'm here to create something with you and to move us all forward, man, and move us all forward together instead of trying to do it apart. Like, that's not our game. We didn't invent that game. That's how I look at it.
No way. You're amazing, man. Appreciate you coming on here again, Damon.
Blessings, brother. Yeah.
All right. Well, we out. And I think Pat might have left us. Pat actually is supposed to cut off this. There we go. He's coming.
I'm here. I'm here. I was enjoying it, man. It was great stuff. I agree. I think it's wonderful. And you guys check out his website. Hit him up on IG, and stay positive is one of those big things we love around here. So thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on. Enjoy the beach. And we'll see everybody next time.
For sure.